Good evening. This is Rhonda C. from Hamden Action Now. How are you tonight on Saturday evening? We have some amazing guests to come and talk about a community conversation today with Darnell Goldson. He's a member of the New Haven Board of Ed. And we have Ife Waters, who is the lead organizer for the citywide parent team. So I'm really interested in talking with them. There's been a lot of controversy over the course of the last couple of months with regard to reentry of schools, understanding where everybody's supposed to be. And we had the budget meeting last week in which I was asking questions about the $300 million budget for the school system in New Haven, of which my child's a part of. So this ought to be a really great and interesting conversation tonight. And we're very excited to have these very distinguished guests with us this evening. Stay tuned. Good evening, everybody. How are you? Welcome, Mr. Darnell Goldson from the New Haven Board of Ed. It's an honor to have you with us tonight. And Ms. Ife Waters from the citywide parent team. We're very, very, very honored to have you all come and talk with us tonight. So we want us to get started a little bit about, I know there's been a lot of controversy over the reopening of the schools. And I know, Mr. Goldson, you've been a heavy advocate on opening safely and responsibly. So I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that. I know safely and responsibly includes the busing. And I know that there was a little bit of a protest at the bus that morning when the schools rolled out because everybody was like, okay, are they following the protocols to make sure the schools and the buses are safe for the kids to come on from COVID-19?
Well, thank you for having me tonight. I'm always happy to talk about the role I play at the Board of Education and what the system is doing. Yes, I was and still am an advocate for a safe opening. I think it's been proven over and over again over the last couple of months that the issues that we were concerned about were real issues, are still issues, and something that parents need to continue to speak up about. We don't know what's happening on the buses around monitoring those young people, what's going to happen in the future once the schools continue to open. That's a big concern of mine. And the claim is that they are not getting enough applicants to apply for the bus monitors positions, but I'm getting calls every day from people who are interested, particularly paraprofessionals in the school system. And apparently they weren't made aware of the fact that they are eligible to apply to add those positions to their portfolios at school so that they can make a little extra money. So I believe that some of them probably will be applying. But I think most concerning is this recent article that am I echoing or something?
Yeah, I think you might have us on. You might want to turn your volume down if you're listening on a page.
I just have my computer screen up, but I'll turn my volume down. I'm not quite sure what that is. Am I still echoing?
No, it's a little better.
Okay. I'll get my headphones and plug that in. So maybe you can turn the volume down.
It works better with the headphones. Yeah.
All right.
So Ife, you tell me about while he's getting his headphones, you tell me about citywide parent team. I saw a whole lot of stuff on your page about not being included, about not, Dr. Tracy not including citywide parent team into. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening to your question.
Go ahead.
No, finish your question.
No, I mean, I just saw on your page that there was a petition, and I also signed the petition, and yeah, I think I hear a lot of feedback too. Does everybody have their volume turned down on where they're listening?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Okay, there we go. So yes, now there's a petition that was circulating where
Glasses.
there are questions on your being deliberately not included in the conversation with regard to I'm not specifically. Can you tell me a little bit about that program? Because I want to be clear before I start throwing people under the bus. I know. I read it and I was like, wait a minute, I want to be clear before I start throwing people under the bus. So please tell us more.
Okay. So Citywide Parent Team was started underneath Garth Harry's. I'm going to tell you 2013. And when they started, it was about like parent leadership, parent involvement, parent engagement, because there's a piece to the Alliance grant and most of the grants, most of the funding that goes to go to the district that talks about parent participation. So from my understanding, when that group first started, it was pretty much trying to show that parents were involved. It started off with having the administrators from school to pick two parent leader, whether it be the PCO of the school, parents, or whatever parent was identified in the schools as a parent leader, and have them to come over to the group, to the meetings, and then bring back whatever the conversation was, far as the district goes back into the schools to the parents. That's how it started. I was a part of the team at that time. And then I want to tell you about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, different individuals begin to branch off and do their own thing because they have their own organization. Some parents, students actually graduated out. And then it just wind up being something different. And this is where I wind up with leadership. It was almost like, I want to say maybe a couple of days before orientation, I received an email from the chair individuals at that time saying, that's it, I'm going to walk away. I have other things that they were involved with. So it was like, okay, what do I do? Do I pick up the torch, keep it burning, or I just walk away like everyone else? So I decided to pick up the torch. And from that point, I noticed that parents, there started to be a difference because it wasn't really more African American parents at the beginning of CPT. It was more of the suburban parents that were really head spearing and really involved. And so from that point, I picked up the torch and it was, okay, what is it that our parents need? And it was geared on whatever it is that the parents needed, whether it was information from the district, far as navigating through the district, whether it's special education, college, financial aid, whatever it was, how do we bring this to parents? How do we get this involved? So from that point, Citywide became that group where if there was administrator need for administrator hiring, for parents to be a part of that, for superintendent search, the parent university, whatever it was, that whatever form of resources from the we call it the climate surveys, we was like a very key part of the district. It was, they will reach out to us and we will connect the parents, to these groups. And that changed. that changed as of August 23rd, 2020, when I received a text message from the superintendent. And I did share that to the Facebook because I believe in letting my parents know that I want them to be aware. I believe in providing receipts. I don't like the he say, she say. I don't do well with that. And I posted how Dr. Tracy approached me. She approached me based on some hearsay. Instead of her taking the 17 years report that I thought we had, that she told me that we had, instead of her picking up the phone and giving me a call saying, hey, Miss Waters, can I speak to you? I'm a little concerned about some of the things that are going on, or certain things that I hear. It wasn't. Apparently, there's some trolls on Citywide parent team, and that's what I'm going to call them tonight. I'm gonna keep it 100. I want everybody to understand, what time it is and how real it is. Right. So there's some people on Citywide parenting page that are just there watching, and they're reporting back to the district. But what's sad about it is they're not reporting back accurately. They're not, and I always say, and some people don't understand why I say when I do go live is, do me a favor. If you're going to go back and tell, for whatever reason you're telling, just play the video and let the individual hear what I'm saying for themselves. So basically the text message was about hearsay. And we felt like it was out of order. I was like, you are this woman that carries these titles, and this is how you're handling it. Like, this was like some very immature stuff, right? And so from that point, it was from August 23rd, 2020 until now. It was no more conversation. It was no more asking Citywide, hey, we have this coming up. Is there any parents that might be interested? It has been nothing.
So you're saying that Dr. Tracy has just basically excluded this parent team that's been around for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And let me ask you a question. Is this a result of the fact that you all were adamant about opening the schools safely? Because I know,
yes.
is this okay?
Yes.
To use a term, is this a clapback?
Yes.
Because if that's what it is, then we need to talk about that.
Yeah, I can actually read you the text message if you would like for me to read that text.
No, I believe you. No, okay.
You know what? I'm gonna post it. How about I post it again?
Post it on the Hamden Action Now page. Screenshot it and put the screenshot up there. See, what the point I'm making tonight is that these are elected officials. Okay, they are not okay. Dr. Tracy is appointed by elected officials. Okay, she makes $250,000 a year. Let's just start there. Okay, and I don't think that you have a right, Dr. Tracy, to have an attitude with any parent on any levels of any kind. And if she returned anybody's phone call or email, I would be happy to tell her that to her face. It's just unacceptable. I'm sorry, Mr. Goldson, go ahead. We can't hear you. You might have attacked your mic. But you see what I'm saying, though. You know what? We're just going to go to Mr. Goldson's house. You might have to unplug your headphones, because But you see what I'm saying? It's just problematic. And then, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
It's just not the parents that are having a problem with communication with the superintendent, and certain board members also. I think that she's really taken this. She's taken this school, our desire to open safely as a shot or attack at her. And she said it at several meetings, both publicly and privately, that people are taking shots at her, and it wasn't about her at all. It was about everybody else and the safety. And you got to have a thicker skin. You can't take this stuff personally. I've been in professional settings since my early 20s, like nearly 40 years. And I never, ever have dealt with an executive at this level getting paid this amount of money to have the kind of attitude that she had. I mean, people have seen it at the board meeting, where I've asked a question about something and she, all of a sudden, I'm questioning her integrity and her truth.
Right.
And not only that, she then says something about she's been married for 40 years and she's been with the school system for 35, 40 years.
Oh, Lord.
People should question her. And that's frustrating for me because everyone should be questioned. And I, as a board member, are one of 7 people who are her boss, quite frankly.
Exactly.
I've never seen this kind of thing before. And the attacks on the school system, I mean, Ife is probably too polite to bring this up, but I will. Ife has a relationship, a partnership that she's in now with a couple of nonprofits and the governor's office. I mean, this is a governor's initiative where he wants to provide information to Black and brown parents so that they could get over whatever myths they have and concerns they have about the vaccination and go get vaccinated. The faster folks get vaccinated, the more folks get vaccinated, the safer we all will be at the end, and the quicker we can get back to normal. And and Ife tried to post it through the parent link and through the school website, and they've refused to do it. They have refused to do it. This is an initiative from the governor's office, and for the life of me, there's two reasons. There could be 2 reasons. One is that she has this thing with Ife, and she refuses to do it. And I've seen her be petty like that, so that's a good possibility. But the other possibility is that I believe her or her husband are both are preachers or pastors in a very conservative church, and they may not even agree with vaccinations. It may be a reason why. For life of me, I can't figure it out. So I'm trying to look at all the possible reasons. Is it because of her religion? She doesn't want to help push vaccinations. Is it because of her personal problem with Ife? I brought it up at the last board meeting, and she just sat there silently, and then sent me a text message that said she was going to handle it. Sent me a text message that says something. I said, "Look, you're embarrassing us." When Ife goes to the governor's office, when Ife starts going to the press about this, we are all going to be embarrassed by it. So I hope, and it's a danger to the community. I hope that she changes her ways quickly. I guess, when you have a guaranteed 3-year contract, I guess you can do whatever you want to do.
That's what okay, I'm so glad you said that. See, that's where I jump in about the money. And at the board meeting, at the budget meeting that they had, it was a public budget meeting last week. And, they were going on and on and on. And then they got to the point where they needed this 4% increase, 4 point something percent increase. And I'm like, okay, we're in the middle of a pandemic, an economic downfall, the likes we haven't seen since the Great Depression. And everybody else is being told to tie and tighten up their belts. And we have a budget being presented that is over $350 million. And we're told in the same conversation that 2,000 students left the district. Well, we had 2,000 students leave the district, and, we'll talk about that later. But here's our $300 and something million budget. We need 4% more, and that's it. So
we closed 2 schools.
Right. And they closed up to 2 schools. And they mentioned that. They closed up Quinnipiac, and there was another one. I don't know. I can't remember the name of the other one.
West Rock.
West Rock. And then I was like, okay, well, let me go over and look at the state report. And here's the state report. I said, okay, for 300, you got to educate 21. This is the 18-19 report for $371 million. You're excessively disciplining the Black and brown kids. Okay. And then I went and looked at this part of the report where it says that the Black and brown kids are effectively only passing 48% in science, 52% in math, and 59% in language arts, to 60 something percent in their white counterparts. So my question was like, why wouldn't they take their kids out? I said, so if you got this big gigantic price tag, this enormous price tag, I've been saying this to Hamden for years. They hate when I whip out that report. It's a public report. It shows that you are continuing to ask for more money year over year, yet and still the Black and brown kids and those with disabilities are being excessively disciplined over the white kids, and the white kids are performing at a higher rate academically than the Black and brown kids and those with disabilities.
That's by design. That's by design.
Then you have a person of color, I'll use that term, which I don't really like, but I'm gonna use it tonight, who is the leadership of this several $100 million organization, who is now trying to clap back because the parents and the teachers want to go back to school safely.
But listen to this, right? And so me and Darnell, we've been doing this for years, right? We can have our moments with each other, but yet at the same time we can work together, right?
Yes.
And so I'm going to say this. Darnell's he probably know that I was going to say this, but I'm going to say this, right? So Darnell can tell you, when we originally did the first superintendent search where Carol Burks was at the table, right? I fought for Dr. Tracy to make that list because it was actually 4, right? I fought, I screamed, I yelled. One of the things that I felt and I believe was that she was the best candidate for the job because she's been in the district. She, from a teacher to a principal to a director to an assistant, assistant superintendent to, so I'm figuring that, she was it, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There has been parents that shared with me that they was not happy with her leadership. And because I did not have that experience, I share with those parents. I share with those community members. Unfortunately, I didn't have that experience. So therefore, I really can't say, I can't use that. I'm a type of person, it's based on my experience. I would take what you're saying. I would take it in. I will place it, to the side and I will watch. And so with Dr. Tracy, I was like, when I say I was screaming and fussing and fighting with Darnell and them about making sure that she was at least a fourth candidate. And even when things didn't go right, I threw it back at Darnell and them. I said, see, I told you, you should have been. So now I guess I have to say publicly, I was wrong. And I'm very upset because here it is. I was one of the biggest cheerleaders of hers. And I have watched this woman, and listen, don't get me wrong. I understand that we want to protect our team because she says that a lot. My team, my team, my team, my team. You can have a team, but your team should know that they need to do their job. I'm not, if you're my friend and I give you a job, I want you to rock out. I want you to represent you. I want you to represent me. I don't give you a job, or I'm not trying to make a clique where people don't do what they're supposed to do and they get away with it, right? And all I've noticed with her is you go and tell her something, it's whatever her team says. There's no, hey, let me look into it. Let me go and investigate this. It's none of that. And what's happening is there's a lot of parents that have reached out to me, that has given me emails that says, hey, I've tried over and over to reach out to, the different people that's, far as the chain of command goes, and they're not they're not responding. I reached out to Dr. Tracy, and she comes back and said, "Oh, my team is handling." Your team is not handling anything. And then the moment that you push back, she gets all in her feelings, and now she wants to get petty, and she wants to malice. Now you are, malicing. You're being facetious. You're being petty. And it's like, wait a minute. How do you come here? How do you go from the person that I rooted for, the person that I believed that you was the best fit for the job, to now it's like, yo, it's horrible. It's almost like, not for nothing. You know what this looked like? It looks like when Garth was a superintendent. That's what this looks like all over again. And you would think that Dr. Mayo was her mentor. You would think that something will be different that comes from this. Nothing. It's about power. You can see the arrogance in her.
Well, she has this thing that you could watch it when you watch those YouTube videos of the meetings. It just rises up, and it's so obvious to see, because like when I just made that comment about this $371 million budget, she was like, "I'm not going to have our kids to be defined by a test." Okay, but these tests are every year. It's the same thing. Like, and you have people leaving your district. You should probably want to know why that's happening. And it's not personal. Like you said, Mr. Goldson, this is not personal. This is about kids, 21,000 that are in the care of the city of New Haven. And you should have a better product.
Well, Dr. Tracy is not the only problem, though, and she's being propped up and enabled by other people, and that is at least 4 members of the board who continue to allow this stuff to happen. I got to tell you, I've been on this board for 5 years, and I'm super frustrated because when I came, I wanted to see some real changes on the board, and I was happy that we were getting elected members to the board who were not beholden to one politician like in the past. So I was hoping that they would come and that we would be able to work for the district, for the students, for the staff, and not for the local mayor who was trying to get reelected every 2 years. And apparently, that's obviously not the case. We're making decisions that are I don't even know what these decisions are based on. We're just making bad decisions. We paid this bus company nearly 96% of its $24 million budget, and they didn't start transporting kids until a month ago. I mean, half of the year they
pay them.
I fought vehemently against it, and I was shocked that they wouldn't even listen. They went and claimed they negotiated. How do you negotiate? If I was a bus company, I would negotiate 96% payment out anyhow myself if I could. And it's been super frustrating to see those kind of things over and over again. In this discussion that we had at the last board meeting, where we were talking about involvement of parents and the community in deciding how to spend this COVID relief money.
Right.
And they have like 5 parents on there. None of them come from or were recommended by EFA's group. None of them were suggested by any other parent group. There are actually 2 or 3 of them are deltas. So it's clear where that's coming from. Keisha's running this process, and Keisha's a delta. And these I'm not saying that they shouldn't be on the committee, but there should be other people on the committee who are representative of our parent groups. And her suggestion is, I'm not adding anybody. There's 80 people on this group, and 98% of those people are on her payroll. So they're going to do what she wants them to do. There's not going to be any dissent. There's not going to be any new ideas. There's not going to be anything there. A couple of weeks ago, and I'm glad you brought this up about the budget. A couple of months ago, we paid an extra $15,000. Seems like a little bit of money. Extra $15,000 for a waste management group to remove waste from Fairhaven Middle School. Well, guess what? We've been in a pandemic. There hasn't been anybody in those
What
schools.
waste?
So why were we adding money to their contract? And even as of last month, I still said I haven't received one piece of paperwork proving that that company should have got additional funding. And they're not even thinking about giving it to me. Because of they're using COVID for everything. FOI now, we can't answer FOIs because of COVID. I mean, it's just like over and over again.
Wow.
And I've been a staunch defender of the budget. And I have said over and over again that the state needs to provide this district with additional funding so that we could provide it for our kids. And I show examples of Hartford getting millions of dollars more than us, the same amount of students, and Norwalk getting millions of dollars more than us with half the number of students we have. So I've been a student, but you know what? People said to me the other day, I saw Alderman the other day, said, "You've been really quiet." I said, "I don't have anything to fight for." It's these people are so misspending and misappropriating this funding that I just can't even fight the state for more funding. And I can't even ask them for more funding because if I were in their place, I wouldn't give it to us. And that's sad. It makes me question why I would remain on this board. Except that somebody has to fight the fight for the kids. So
can I even add to Mr. Goldson? And that's how I feel about the whole parent group now. I feel like that too. It's like, what's the point of keep fighting when you're fighting by yourself?
Right.
It's like it's almost like, and I know that people say you're not by yourself, but in a way that I am, because it's like if I say, prime example, if I say, superintendent's trying to silence me, I really need parents to get up here and, join the board of ed and push back with me. You had 2 people out of 724 members that's in the citywide parent group that got up there, for whatever reason. And so for me, it's like, it makes you stop and think about, like, is this worth it? Especially when you're volunteering your time, when you're not getting paid, you're not getting paid for any of this, and it's like, and then sometimes you're kind of like, you take away hours, of your day or whatever with your kids and with your family. And it just makes you say, like, why? And, and at first there's some other advocates I know that has told me in the past, they like, girl, I'm done. I don't fight anymore. And I'm like, why? And she's like, they would tell me, he and she would say, the parents are just not there the way they should be there, and it's true. And I know, I love my families. I love them, but they don't understand that you have more power when it's a group of us pushing back than there's one person. There is power in numbers. And it's almost like, if you're not going to fight, then what am I fighting for? If you're okay with the system. First of all, we got more policies that are 14 years outdated. That's number one. Number two, like Darnell is saying, you got management of funding. It's like you are top heavy. You got almost what? Millions of dollars just from the top alone, and you wonder why our children education is the way that it is. You see our teachers are tired because our teachers should be getting paid more money, but they're not. It's like, but there's no, like, there is policies, there are laws, there are regulations, there are different things that are in place that parents and community members can come together to use to push back, to take back our educational system, but they don't care. Or let me be fair. Let me be fair and say, I don't want to say they don't care. Okay, I'm gonna be fair and take that back. So everybody out there who's listening, I'm gonna take back the saying I don't care. They're not putting enough energy or they're not making themselves aware of what's going on to make a change. And when people are giving out that information, I don't know whether it's being received, or I don't know whether they don't have the time, but you got to make time. And I always say to people that we always make time for the things that we want, whether it's the new sneakers, whether it's a new game console, whether it's going out, we make that time.
Right.
Make time for education.
Well, it's I understand people's frustration because you make the time and then you don't see any action out of it. I mean, it's embarrassing for me to sit up there at the board meeting and hear people ask questions and then never get those questions answered. It's embarrassing for me to work for a school system where teachers start at a lower salary than custodians do. I mean, teachers' starting salary is like 45,000. Custodians like 52, 55, something like that.
And that's a shame.
And look at the paraprofessional.
It's embarrassing to me that the paraprofessionals, the part-timers that don't have contracts, haven't had a raise in like 5 years, and they're making like $12 an hour. I mean, you have these administrators who get an annual raise every year of 2.5%. And by the way, their contracts are negotiated with an administrator. So they're negotiating against themselves. So they always are going to get what they asked for.
Mm-hmm.
They get a 2.5, a $165,000 administrator gets a $4,000 raise every year. That's 0.2%. That's a 2% rate. That's 2%, right? That's more money than a paraprofessional makes the entire year. When they get a raise, it's like $5. I mean, I'm sorry, 25 cents an hour. It's absolutely ridiculous where our priorities are with the school system. That teachers are at the bottom rung of pay here. And then people will say, well, they only work 8 months out of the year, and they only do that. They are with our kids sometimes longer than we're with our kids.
Exactly.
And they're providing something that's the most important to our kids, and that's education. And we should treat them like kings and queens that they are, but instead we treat them like they're some kind of petty workers that could go somewhere else if they don't like being with us. And I'm so frustrated with it time and time again. And now on the wish list, they provided, as you saw at the budget meeting, they provided us with a wish list of things that they would like to see. Well, they want to hire another $165,000 administrator as an assistant superintendent, so they can sit there and do nothing. And they're not held accountable. Last year, we paid out a $500,000 lawsuit to one of our teachers who was in a wheelchair, was denied equal access to her school. As a matter of fact, her parking place was taken away. The ramp that she was supposed to use was broken. They actually suggested that she go to the loading ramp at the back of the building. She's in a wheelchair and come into the building. Now, I became aware of it because I saw a news story on it. Both Ed Joyner and I met with the COO at the time, and Will Clark, and said, you got to fix this. And he actually made a comment that this teacher was a professional complainer. And
I remember that.
Now we would have paid $50,000 to fix all of the problems that this lady had to get into the school. We ended up paying her $500,000 because we didn't make the fixes. Who's held accountable for that?
Exactly. But you know why, Darnell?
The guy that would have been held accountable for it, he got a big fat severance package from us that I voted against and went to another school system and doing the same thing. So he gets $150,000 severance package. We pay $500,000 out to this lady. And who suffers from that? The kids. Nobody else suffers but the kids.
Because you know why, too? We have a lot of people that are in positions that don't even understand their position. They don't, and it goes back to the policies and the laws, right? We, like right now, and I've said this to the board. I've said it just recently. I had a conversation with a board member, and I said, if, especially with this recent article with the filters, if every parent in this district who has a child who's asthmatic file OCR, Office of Civil Rights Complaint.
Yep.
If every parent who have a child who's asthmatic or an educator who's asthmatic, we come together and do a class action lawsuit. You see, we got to start getting radical. And that's the thing. It's people, it's like no pain, no gain. You don't gain anything if you're not willing to go through something. Okay.
Well, I mean, I just also want to say this.
Right.
Okay. For $371 million, I'm not going to, I'm going to stay on that number all night. That's the 2018-19 number. I wasn't even paying attention to the presentation last week because the number just was more than that. And it just was off the charts. See, this is the culture. Everybody wants, when people talk about, oh, well, public school is really not a big deal because, it's kind of free education. There ain't nothing free about public education.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And I tell people all the time, stop acting like you said about being radical. You need to, parents, we have to get our money's worth.
Exactly.
Well, not only that, but it's also in the state law. It's actually the state statutes that they have to continue to keep these buildings and the air quality acceptable. And, they would never have done these studies. We wouldn't know about this now if we hadn't forced the issue. And they only did it because we wouldn't let them open the schools. Ife's been complaining about it for years. Ife's been complaining about it for years. And teachers have always been complaining about the quality of the air and how they were getting sick in their classrooms and how it was always too cold or too hot, stuff was leaking. I actually went to Hill House High School one time. I think it was my second year on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I did a tour of Hill House. I went to a classroom when the window was open in the middle of the winter and it was raining and there was some cardboard boxes in front of it. And I asked the teacher why. She says, we haven't been able to get that window closed for a year and a half. She says, I keep filing work orders to get it closed and it never gets done. I raised it at a board meeting. Guess what? It got fixed like 2 weeks later. But that shouldn't be the case. And we've been hearing over and over again over the years that they never even fulfill these work orders. They disappear. And guess what? How about the student who when he was like 4 or 5 years old, left the school grounds, walked like 3 blocks away. They finally found the kid. He walked out of the playground because the gate wasn't working. None of the gates at that school were working. And teachers were complaining about it and nobody was doing anything about it. There's no accountability. When something happens, we have a board member who has a son who works at the school system. This man hasn't been to work for years. He goes in whenever he feels like it because he's not held accountable. And he just recently had a car accident with a minor in the car during school hours. And he still hasn't been held accountable. He hasn't been suspended. He hasn't been fired. He's going to some kind of program or something. And, it's just absolutely ridiculous. He's always been protected. And we have to stop doing that kind of stuff because if I was another staff person and you try to fire me for not coming to work, I'm going to say, wait a minute. There's a precedence here. That board member's son never goes to work. Why should I have to? And
so he gets to stay home and collect a paycheck.
Yeah, there's this culture where folks just like they have to do anything anymore because nobody's held accountable from the top to the bottom. But when I tried to raise issues and hold the board, hold staff members accountable, I was investigated.
Oh yeah, they hired a whole law firm on you. I saw that.
Yeah.
Investigated and I get silenced. Nobody doesn't want, we don't want to work with Ife.
No, you get shunned and blacklisted.
I get blacklisted.
You know what? I don't care because none of those people are my friends. I don't hang out with them. I don't go to dinner parties with them. They could shun me all day long. I got my family and my friends. I don't need to be worried about how they feel about me.
But see, where is Justin Elliker and the aldermen? Where are they? Like, is everybody okay with y'all going and asking people for their vote and their tax check?
Oh, I love that because this is, because now when it comes, and this is what I need for our families to understand. It's like, it's time out now, right? It's time out. When it's time for election, we need to start looking at the elders, what they're doing, what they have done, how they're on the front line, from they're not on the front line. We need to look at the mayor. What gets me about this mayor is his whole campaign was about the things that Tony Hart was doing and how he would do them. But yet he's doing the very same exact things that he said that he would not. And I was asking people, I'm not a New Haven, I'm not a New Haven resident. However, I'm very invested in it. And I was trying to tell people is I get it. And you know how they say, it's either do you deal with the monster that you know, or do you deal with the monster that you don't know? And everybody, and this is what bothers me about the Black and brown community, and more Black than ever, they went in on Tony Hart. Yeah, there's some things that she did not do that she could have done, right? She wasn't one of my people. I'm not going to even lie to nobody. However, my thing is this: they ridiculed that Black woman, but here you go, this white man that's doing the exact thing. And
but
Ife, nothing
right,
from the
Ife,
Black community.
Right.
That is sad.
And that's a good point. I mean,
you hear
that's a good point. They allowed her to attack that lady over and over again. I made some public statements about it because I just thought it was the saddest thing to have these people attack her like that and not have the community come behind her. It was, and it is, and they're doing that all over the place now. They've become more empowered to feel that they could do that. When they investigated me by basically calling me a racist. They said that I accused a white staffer of being racist, which I never, or making racist decisions, which I never did. All I did was ask the question. I said, why are you taking money from a Black attorney and giving the same amount of money to another white attorney? Why is that happening? And then I became investigated, and they thought it was going to stop me from asking those questions, and obviously it's not going to. I'm going to ask those questions. I'm going to keep asking those questions. I'm going to continue to ask why we're doing the things that we do. I'm going to continue to ask why we're paying these administrators top amount of money, and we're seeing the same results over and over again.
Assistant superintendent, why?
Why do we have 3 assistant superintendents?
What? And then you want to go for a 4th one?
And why do they think that?
I'll tell you what Dr. Tracy's answer to me was.
But the other, I can't give everybody credit.
I could tell you what Dr. Tracy's answer was when I asked her that question. I asked, why do you need 3? She said, well, the previous superintendent had 5. So she should be able to have 5. This is people's money that they're playing with now. They think $15,000 here, $30,000 there. It doesn't really make a difference, but that stuff builds up. And once it gets in the system, it's difficult to take it out. You have 5 superintendents, you're never going to be able to get rid of them, no matter how the population drops in the school system. And I don't know what we're doing with the money that we got already, much less asking for more money. Let me tell you what happened. I just want one other point. Ife was right. Nobody came when I was attacked. NAACP didn't come to the table. These other Black organizations that I was fighting for Black contractors, and the Black Professional Men's Association didn't come to the table.
Black and Brown United came to the table.
Yeah.
Camden Action Now came
you guys
to the table.
You guys did. Absolutely.
But this is funny though, and this is how, unfortunately, I tell people, I think when we look at Black people, we have to look at we're dealing with trauma. When you go back and do the history of New Haven, and you really look into the history of New Haven, it's almost like it's just a stigma that's we're just stuck, and until we come together as a unit and saying enough is enough. Education, enough with our economics, enough with our judicial system. When we say enough is enough, that's the only time it's going to be enough. But we're too busy trying to fight each other We need to change that energy. You know, it's like you got some people and people are not going to like, but you got people, you know, they're coons. That's exactly who they are. They are designed
all the way to the top.
You know, to be used and to fight against us, right?
Well, I see a little bit of that, but what I see more than anything is that people don't want to put the energy in the fight because they don't think that it's going to make a difference. And for the most part, they're probably right.
No,
I mean,
but that's
powers that,
but no, we gotta change that mentality.
Well,
No. Listen. We cannot. And so now I'm about to really get deep, right? I'm talking to the Christians, right? The ones that you reap what you sow, right? You got to come away from that mentality to keep saying that, you know, we're not going to get anything out. If you speak that, if you think that, then that's what it is. We need to holding these clergies. We got to start putting fire to their foot. We got to start all these leaders that we got that says that they're leaders. We got to start holding fire to their foot. We need to start coming together as organizations, right? You know, because my thing is this: don't come preach to me, and then at the same time you doing nothing. If I'm pouring into the storehouse, right? Where's the return? We are looking at what we're claiming and what we're fighting for, and we need to start changing that.
Well, we cannot continue to give them our money.
But there's different levels here, right? There's different kinds of people that are out there, right? There are people that feel powerless and feel that no matter what they do, there's not going to be any change. There are other people. There are other people out there who have power, and they feel they'll lose their power if they fight for what's right. Okay, there's other people that see what happened to me, and they say, "Look, you know, I agree with him 100%, but I don't want to get out there and have somebody file a lawsuit against me or take away my business or do whatever they're going to do." So, I thought because I was an outsider when I came to the school system that I could fight for change and not worry about how it's going to affect my life, because I won't lose a contract. I won't lose. I won't endanger a family member's job because I don't have any family members or friends working for the school system. I don't have a job that has anything to do with the school system or the city. So I don't have to worry about those. But a lot of people do. They have those attachments. They might have a brother or sister who works in some department who they feel is going to be affected if they go out there and do the right thing and put on the fight. So, I've been doing this for 5 years. And Ife, you've been doing it for a whole lot longer. And where has it gotten us? You know?
You're right. You're absolutely right. But when you look at our ancestors, the ones that came before us, the advocates, the activists, you know, they went through a lot. Even when you want to use Jesus, right? For instance, those people went through something, right? And like they say, we give us our flowers while we are alive. Of course, that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want to see it that way. And it's unfortunate that sometimes it takes us leaving this earth, for it to have an impact. But I think it comes from the mentality, our mentality. We have to change our mentality. If we keep thinking, when you go back and you look at the civil rights movements, right? It took 5 individuals to start the civil rights movement. They went through something enough for them to get a change. It didn't just happen overnight, but it was consistent. It was one after another before they was able to provoke change. And that's what we have to do. What happens is we get a little piecemeal and we get comfortable. And then when we get comfortable, before you know it, because it's the art of war, here they come. Boom, they're attacking us. But we have to stay on it. We have to keep going. Look at me with the life-threatening allergies. I know everybody's tired of me saying life-threatening allergies, but I'm not going to stop until we change that policy.
Right.
We talk about the air quality control. Look at it. How long have I been talking about, according to our laws, our state and federal regulations, our school system should have an air quality control committee. I've been saying that for years. Now look at us. When we start seeing things like this, this is where we need to take that moment and we push back. If everyone stays in the mindset that, oh, it doesn't even matter, then you know what? It doesn't matter. When we start and saying that, listen, no matter what, we're going to keep pushing back. We're going to keep pushing back. We're going to keep pushing back. At some point, we're going to see some form of change, but it got to take numbers. It has to take the collective to make a difference.
Well, don't take what I'm saying as throwing in the towel or quitting. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to keep fighting. But you also have to understand that, you know, people have a different reasons why they may not join the fight completely. You know, why they may support the fight, but they, you know, like marches, people understand what the marchers are doing out there, but they don't want to get arrested, so they don't go to the march, or they don't want to get in the middle of what may happen.
It just shows the presence.
You know, I understand that, and I agree with you, and I'm going to keep fighting the fight the way I can fight the fight, and I don't care how many investigations they launch against me, and I don't care, you know, whether they like me or not, and invite me to parties or not. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm going to keep the fight. You know, the only thing I'm concerned about is how it affects my family. You know, and you know, when I get off of those board meetings, I got to go have a glass of scotch. You know, I gotta,
so do we out here from watching it, you know.
I'm serious.
5 hours and a half. Oh my God. You know what? I think if we want to talk about earning money, I think the Board of Ed should do a reality. I think
it's funny you would say that, because I remember about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, we were getting ready to start a meeting, and somebody came up to me and said, "I'm going to get a front row seat for season 2." You know.
It's really bad. I mean, it's really, if you watch it, it's just.
You got to admit, you know, since the board has changed from a completely appointed by the mayor to a hybrid board where we have, you know, individuals who may or may not have constraints put on them by the city. We've had interesting meetings. I mean, I've been called out to a duel.
Yeah, you have. Listen. Wait. Hold on. Let's talk about that, right? And see, this is what people don't understand, right? I have some people that come at me, and I understand, you know, Dr. Joyner, you know, people love Dr. Joyner. Again, I used to be a fan of his as well. Dr. Tracy, I used to be a fan of his as well. Yo, me and Darnell, back and forward. Yo.
Hey, we went at it.
Man, listen, go at it. You know, but one thing is this, right? I have to say to people is, you don't ever have like I don't want to change anybody's feelings about anybody, right? Because we all have different relationship from each other. However, my thing is this: if it's your friend or if it's somebody you look up to, you should pull that person to the side and say, listen, right? We got to do right by our kids. You don't got to be out on the front. If you don't want to say it out in the front, you don't have to do that. But pull those people to the side and say, listen, what's going on? We got to do better by our Black and brown children. And let me tell you something. When it comes down to the Hispanic children, they already have people fighting for them. But our Black kids, what they do for our Black kids is they use them to get the funding, and then they take that funding to go give it to other kids. That's not right.
Yep.
And we as Black parents have to stop that. We have to say enough is enough. We have to, our ancestors did not fight education for us to be here, for our Black children to disproportionately be expelled, be suspended, be underneath the umbrella of special education, and then cast out. And this is now you have the schools, the prison pipelines. This is where that is coming from.
I'm so glad you said that, because I wanted to read some of this from this report, because, you know, if you got, you remember when COVID first hit and everybody was talking about how, oh, we have so many people who are disengaged and they're not logging on. Well, you've already had a district with chronic absenteeism problem to begin with.
Thank
So
you.
you use that example. Oh, and I do a really great Dr. Tracy voice. Oh, I'm sorry. You have we need to get back to school because people are disengaged.
No, you
I'm like, ma'am, they were already disengaged. You had 3,700 people in 2020 and 2019 students that were not in school. They were chronically not there. So I think you were doing better, because if you only had 2,000 people that were not there with the online learning, then you were doing better. Honestly. But see, this is what she does. She gives these kind of information so she can get the response that she wants. And and then everybody's like, oh, we need to get back to school right away because Dr. Tracy said there's 2,000 kids that aren't logging on. Was 3,000 that wasn't showing up, period.
And listen,
can you track those folks down?
Wait, hold on. Can I even let me tie that, right? Those same kids, that 2,000 were more than likely the same kids that was the kids that was not engaged inside
to begin with.
To begin with. And then let me be fair with this one too. There is a lot of people that they don't have either a Chromebook, a hotspot. Again, it's manipulating the system. And then here come Clifford Beers and here come Yale. I am like, are there not any other organizations out there that can services to our children? Because it seems like our kids are not getting better. Because if you've been dealing with these two groups, Yale Child Study Team and Clifford Beers, you've been dealing with these for years. We still got the same numbers or more that's dealing with trauma. Hello.
Well, you have
any other organizations out there?
Well, you have the district performance index. So you have the fact that the Black and brown kids, like I said, are scoring 48.2% in science. Well, the white children, bless their hearts, 63.8. The state minimum is 75. So nobody's reaching the benchmarks. Why? And that's the same year over year.
But
the price tag keeps going up every year.
But yet they blame the pandemic for our children not learning. Come on. Let me give you one better. My son, and there's a bunch, I did a poll on CY Parent Team and asking this question. For those children that are on IEPs, I asked the parents, how many of you have saw a big difference in your child going to school and being that problem kid that they're constantly calling saying your kid is doing this and your kid is doing that, then going from your kids are on honor rolls, your kids are engaged. Somebody please explain that. I want to do a study on that. Someone please help me. I want to know that answer, because this is what I'm saying. I am tired of them using our children. They manipulate the data to get the funding. And then once you get the funding for our babies, you go and take it somewhere else.
Right. And like, who's on the board of these nonprofits? I'm sure they're not, run by Black folks or brown folks. I'm positive the Yale board is not run by Black and brown folks. And I'm sure that Clifford Beers, who they love to be the go-to nonprofit. So it's just about money. It's about getting the federal money, getting the state money, and moving it around to the upper level. And meanwhile, we're still getting the same results from the same system.
And
they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results.
I guess that's why we need Child Study Team.
In this case, it's not insanity. It's actually the big hustle. They do the same thing over and over again because they're all making money and their friends are making money. The only thing between the only difference between Burks and Tracy is that Burks wasn't smart enough to hide it. She was actually doing it all out in the open. Paying her friends to do reports and then paying them to do the solutions that are written up in the reports. Burks hides it better. But the fact is she's doing the same thing over and over again, and I think it's insanity. I think bringing the same people to the table to talk about how to spend that COVID money to make a real change for our students is not going to happen, because it's the same people at this table doing the same thing over and over again. And it's frustrating to say the least. It's borders on criminal what we're doing. Like with that TIF money, $55 million just puff up in smoke, and left us with a deficit because now we had all these people that were making more money, and now we had to cover the difference.
Yeah, but tell the truth to shame the devil on that one. That was a political move. That was
always political.
That was a political move. There was no reason why y'all brought that.
Always political.
Always
political.
I know, but again, let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade.
Let me tell you how we keep doing. Let me tell you how we keep doing the same thing over and over again. They hired a woman out of Indiana to do the reports on the TIF money. She was just doing reports. She was making something like, I don't know, what was it again, Ife? You remember what this lady was making? She was making $200,000 or $300,000 for just doing the reports. Now this was under what's his name, Garth. Tracy was going to bring the same lady back to do grant writing for the administration. It wasn't going to tell anybody that the lady lived in Indiana because right now we're doing remote, so nobody needed to know.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of living outside the district, does Dr. contract say she should live in Cheshire? Because how was Burks was able to have it to come here to New Haven and she's still in? Because I did an FOIA on her contract about 2 months ago and I still haven't received.
You're kidding. You haven't received the contract yet?
No.
Oh, because of COVID, of course. I'll see if I can find it in my files. I may have an unsigned copy of it. I'll see what I could do. but I know that there's either a charter revision or in the contract that they had to move into town. Just like any other high-paid executive. My understanding is she owns a house in the town, so that's how she's getting around it. But apparently the house is a church
and living in there is two different things.
Isn't the house listed as a church or something?
So basically
she's
what
registered
you're saying
to vote in Cheshire.
As a Republican, I heard.
As a Republican.
But there's nothing wrong with Republicans.
No, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with that. But she's registered so she votes, which is it's, oh my God, that could be voter fraud. That she actually votes in Cheshire but really lives in New Haven.
Well, no,
we should probably report that.
She has a house in she lives in a house in Cheshire. She actually owns a house in New Haven that I understand may be her church. They may be using that as her and her husband's church. I haven't gotten all the details, but that's what I've heard.
I can't wait to see that contract.
Listen. I sent for it like 2 months ago, and
I'll see if I can find it in my files.
Yeah, and I was trying.
Well, I mean, these are the things. See, it's a bureaucratic political culture, all at the expense of little children and our tax money. And this is why I would like for us to come and have these conversations, because everybody wants to act like I'm making this up. I'm like, this is so not made up. This is purely a thing. This is the bureaucracy and the politics around municipal governing. And yet, and still, I can't get in. I have such a hard time getting people to come out and vote in municipal elections. And after they vote, go call up your alderman and find out, like, just what the hell are y'all doing? Why are you allowing this? But you can't even get people to, the
last time the charter was revised was back in May 2013. So I mean, again, you understand that when you look at it, we're looking at 14 years outdated policies of the Board of Education, and we're looking at a charter. Says just recently that the ordinance was revised. It doesn't matter, but the whole charter needs to, say at least 2 years. You have 2 years out grace period, right? And my point is, the whole purpose of these laws, and it's to, it's about governance, right? It's about holding accountability. How can we hold anybody accountable for anything when we don't even have a law updated or a policy updated to say X, Y, and Z? And then my favorite thing is then you have, I don't know. I'm like, I learned that someone saying I don't know kind of sort of helped them do the fraud because they say, I don't know. Like, all of this has to stop. And
Well,
Yeah.
the
Ife's right. Ife's right. You know, until I took over as president of the board, the policies had not been updated, including our bylaws, since '99, I think it was.
Lord have
So
mercy.
it was absolutely ridiculous, and a lot of stuff was happening because the bylaws weren't updated, and I got it done halfway through my first year of my term, and after I left the presidency, nothing. No, I mean, you know, we partnered with a state organization. We paid them some money to help us update our policies, and I'm not quite sure what's happening now since I left the presidency. But I know that we got it done, and there was some controversy around it because I was rushing it through because I wanted to make sure that, you know, I think any organization as large as ours with the kind of funding that we spend um, should have some governing policies that are updated. You know, and '99
Not
was
20
just
years old.
a little too
I'm
far
telling
out.
you, if you look at the policies now, especially around parent involvement, community relations, and so forth, we're looking at the last time they looked at that was September 2007. That's what we're looking at. 14 years. 14 years ago.
Lord have mercy.
And
Yeah,
and so for me, you know what? I'm gonna go find I should be able to sit on the board. I should go and take I should have a dual residency so I can go.
well, there's a seat opening up in this year. Actually, there's an election for Ed Joyner's seat
Hmm.
or the mayor's seat. There, you know, the mayor is seated because he's mayor, and he's up for reelection, and Ed's up for reelection. So,
Hmm.
if anybody wants to consider it,
Yeah, I mean, I just think people got to stop being comfortable with this like mediocre kind of
But that's
whatever
why
and the
I
poor
think it's that.
attitudes and
I think, but see, it goes back to us as a people. Unfortunately, we're generational trauma. Like, we're just stuck. It's just, if you go back to look at the whole enslavement, period. It's like you have all those Black folks that you would think that at some point would come together to fight against the white people, but we did, because they was taught to obey their masters, right? We got to come away from that. We have to really start saying we're tired of these folks getting away with the things that they get away with.
I know I
with
am.
children, with people's children.
Exactly. And that's my fight. I don't care about the adults, right? I really don't. I care about the families. I care about the children. That's why I advocate. That's why I go hard. They have denied me of a job that I was even working, and they got rid of me out of a job because I was advocating, and I did not care. It did not stop me. Actually, it put me in a better position in kicking their behinds. And my thing is not what you call me is what I answer to. That's my thing. And I'm like what Darnell's saying is like, you don't want to fight, and you're not saying I'm sorry, you don't want to quit. You're not saying I'm going to give up, but it makes it real hard when it comes down to coming to the table. And when you look to your right or you look to your left, you're standing alone.
All the time.
We have to change that, people. We cannot sit up here and talk about, oh, look at Cheshire. Oh, look at Wallingford. Oh, look at all these other schools. Look at them. Let me tell you something. When it comes down to Woodbridge, when it comes down to all those towns, let something don't happen right. You got all those white parents that get together and they stop that nonsense. You tell me what's the difference?
Look, we got a board president. We got a board president who runs a business out of one of our schools. We have a board member who has two children working in the school system, both who have had attendance problems that was published in the newspaper, and still nothing happens. So, at the end of the day, it's like, if you can't get rid of people like that, if you can't replace those kind of people on the board, then what can you do?
But you can't. That's the thing. We can't replace these people. We just got to be willing to do that. Like you said,
you have to be willing to do the work.
Right. We gotta, it's time out, oh, well, that's my friend. Well, your friend is causing your children not to get what it is that they need.
Okay, so you got 2,000 students that left the district, and there's more that continues to keep leaving to the point that you're closing schools, but yet and still you're asking for more money, and everybody's paychecks continue to go up. Yes. So, again, at some point, when do people get angry and say they've had enough? I've been saying I've had enough. Yes. And that's why we're even here having this conversation tonight. Listen, because we've had enough.
I took one of my kids out, and my son go to Notre Dame. Well, he was at Xavier, now he's at Notre Dame. And I tell people, I work with those parents. I've been on that side. I watched these people raise $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. I watched this, like I was the only Black parent that was even sitting on the PTA when it comes down to one of the schools, right? And I sat back and I watched and I observed what they do. And what I'm saying is, the reason why the private schools and them have what they have is because those parents are invested. Those parents is not going to
write a check.
Then and they're not going to take no. They're not taking no for an answer. It don't even matter because you can still go to private. Like my son, I get financial aid for my son. A lot of Black parents don't understand that they can get financial aid to send their kids to a private school.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's the reason why that's why 2,000 students left the district. Because they don't want their kid failing science. They don't want their kid failing math and language arts. They don't want their kids falling behind. And then there's even that thing. There's even a little score there of how many people who actually are ready to go to college are past the entrance exam to get to college and can stay in college, a persistence score. So, or even ready to go to work after high school. So you continue to pump out this, and we do have good kids that come out, and good kids come out because they got parents who are advocating for them. Their parents are on top of it. They're saying, okay, you having a problem with pre-algebra? Let me get you a tutor. But but then you have this group of kids that are the majority are not doing well.
Hold on. Let me just come in here real quick. You have the last dollars that came in that I knew about the Title I funding was 500 million. You have what you call Title I, right? So Title I, you're supposed to have a home and school compact, which means the parents and the administrators sit down and we talk about the budget for the schools, right? And then there's also supposed to be like 1.5% of those funds that goes to parents that talks about enhancement, whether it's reading, whether it's math, whether it's science, right? But they're not telling, they tell enough just to have it on record to say, hey, we're giving out this information. But we have there was how many schools? Almost like 20 something schools that was as underneath Title I alone. Which means that if a parent needs additional services for that kid, they're supposed to make sure that's why we have these tiers, right? To make sure that you are providing additional services to these children. But it's all about parent when they're calling. And you know what? I get it, because they don't really let you know. They tell you last minute, about meetings. And I know a lot of times parents have to work, but we got to start doing some researches on our own. We can't wait for people to give it to us.
But we also have to have administrators who really care about the system.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I'm saying.
Don't care about their paychecks. I mean, when I was president of the board, I knew that we had too many schools. We had a school out in North Haven, right? I mean, it was ridiculous. We closed 2 schools and also combined 2 other schools when I was president of the board. And you know what? I mean, we were getting our butts kicked out there, but we were doing the right thing for the school system because we knew that those schools weren't serving our students, and we were spending too much money to maintain them, and we needed to do something different, to do something better. So
it's not monopoly money.
And last year I said, we have two other schools we should be closing. We should be closing West Rock and Quinnipiac. I said that over a year ago. They jumped all over me. Oh, it's going to take 18 months. You shouldn't be talking about closing schools. You're doing our parents a disservice. They closed Quinnipiac and West Rock in less than a month. Less than a month. When they found out that they were condemned, they did it.
Yeah.
We should have did it a year ago.
Well, didn't Dr. Tracy know, especially now, this recent article about these filters, she knew that. I just saw the report where the letter went out to her back on, let me tell you, because I wrote it down. I think back in, she got notice of unsafe structures.
Look, I knew it. I am by far, as far as you could get from being a genius. I am not even close to it. And I knew that those schools needed to be closed, right? I mean, these people have like 5 different names behind their names, doctor, and they can't figure it out. When teachers are complaining that they're getting sick, when schools can't, they're too hot or too cold. When you don't even have a working heating system in the school, it's kind of time to say, let's take those 30 to 50 kids we have in that school and put them in the other 39 schools that we have. And we just couldn't figure it out until we had to figure it out.
But we got issues. If you go back, there's an article back on 2018. I think I shared that on the parent team today, where you had mold issue in Hill House, had mold issue in Wilbur Cross.
Yep.
We a lot of other schools with mold. There was a mold issue at East Rock. There's a lot of these issues, and especially when I was looking at that report. Here's my problem.
It's illegal.
It's exactly, and
it's unethical too. So
but you know what? But see, we're not thinking about. Unfortunately, because of the reality that we live in, a lot of things that we should think about, we really don't, right? And to be honest, when you go back and you look, now you got this filter issue. What is going to happen? Schools are still going to stay open?
Well, she fought us on the filters. We kept demanding that she do those MERV 13 filters, because those are the only filters that stop the virus from passing through. And she kept wanting to do MERV 8s. And we had to force her to do MERV 13 and whatnot, And even then, you see, they didn't really do anything. They left all those filters in there anyhow. And they reported to us that all the schools were ready to open. A month and a half ago, she reported to us that all the schools were ready to open. 3 weeks later, she tells us that 2 schools are condemned and can't open anymore. I mean, what are we supposed to believe?
Right. And this is this isn't monopoly money, and these aren't little play toys. These are little children, and now that we've already got next week on March 4th, we already got, they're giving out backpacks and back to school supplies. Come on, we're going, but we still have, I'm sorry, I know this is what I do.
Think about this for a second. We have a pandemic, and they're about to do Ife, you're about to do an event where you're bringing people together?
Yes! I was like,
none of this stuff makes sense to me. I
can't even make this up. It's like every time these texts come across my phone, I'm like, back to school. It's like it's like the virus is over, pandemic over. That's it. We'll see y'all on March 4th.
It's really Donald Trump's out of office now, so we can do whatever we want to do. We didn't want to. Donald Trump was telling us to go back to school, so we weren't doing it. Some of us weren't doing it because we knew it wasn't safe.
It's okay if you get the virus. If you get the virus, you okay. I mean, and and so now, my child and her, friends that she's talking to, they're middle schoolers, and they're like, and the parents are texting me, "Oh, are you going to send her back?" I said, "No.
No. My grandson's not going back."
I said, I have pre-existing conditions.
Can I tell y'all something? We still have not gotten a medically compromised contingency plan, which I've been asking for.
Nope.
The director, what's her name? Maritza Bond never responded to me. Dr. Tracy never responded to me. But yet you got these filters, right? But so for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm about to hit up the feds. I'm sick of this death.
It's time. You need to hit everybody.
I'm getting listen, whoever's down, I'll let you know how to go about it. Other than that, I'm tired, because you're not going to keep killing off our children for
because of your paycheck.
money.
And
You're not even paying our teachers. You're not paying our teachers. You're not paying
You're not paying the paras.
This is my thing. You know, I wish our teachers, listen, it's too many of them for them to be replaced. If the teachers get together and say the hell with this district and shut down, I bet you.
I've heard this teacher say this before. She just posted it on the comment section. It's like, and you know, it's funny. So I'm gonna say it. I probably shouldn't because I'm a board member. It's like, how do you know they're lying? Their lips are moving. You know? And that's honestly the position that I take. When I want them to just talk to me. I want them to provide me with the evidence and whatnot. And they never do it. And then at the end of the day, you find out a month or two later that what they were telling you wasn't true. And then they say, well, that's not what we really told you. We told you something else.
You missed, my favorite one. You saw the recent email from Dr. Tracy. I am tired of you misinterpreting everything that I'm saying on my staff. No, chick, I got everything in writing. You know, like that's what I have years. Time my sons enter school, I have emails. Okay, I have binders of communication. I keep these things for a reason. For reasons just like this. You know, it's like, but the thing is this: if we do not, they tell us all the time, if we don't start standing for something, that means we'll fall for anything.
Yeah,
it's a hot mess.
Yeah,
falling for the nonsense,
and it's everywhere. I just want to say it's not just New Haven.
Yeah.
It's Hamden. It's just it's the culture of public education around our country.
They play on the need of our families. They know that there's families out there that have to go to work. They know that they have no other choice, so they set them up. You know, and the thing is, this is where now, you know, we got to start making sacrifices.
Well, look at here too.
Can I make a suggestion, Rhonda? If, I don't know if you're willing or able to do this, but I would love to be able to have a conversation with the community through your program.
I would love that
in the future. You know, if you can somehow,
and where we can have people dial in.
Yeah.
And talk with you. Let's put that on the schedule. And you know, I'm glad you say that. You know why? I have been complaining about this process. You know, they allow you to go do public comment, and then they move into the meeting and they announce all these decisions. I'm like, wait, we were commenting on what you were talking about last week,
exactly.
Right?
And now it
don't respond to you. It don't respond.
No response. No response.
But think about it. Why? Because we've never pushed back. We've never pushed them.
It is horrific. And then they got that guy that goes, time. Like you're in the middle of this really eloquent, passionate speech.
They shouldn't have changed. They shouldn't have changed on us. They gave.
But you know what I'm saying? You're an impassioned parent, and they time.
Yep.
By the way, before you end this, I want to bring up another issue that's really concerning to me. Yeah, my grandson goes to a learning hub that was set up by one of the churches, and there's several learning hubs throughout the city, and they have been a lifesaver. Because I remember the first week, my son was at school or something, so I was like there with my grandson while he was attending school from the kitchen table, and it was driving me nuts. And as soon as I found this learning hub, I was so happy because it allows him to be in a place where other children are, but safe, where they're not interacting with each other without masks on and so on. And it's been a lifesaver. And she had a meeting with all of these different learning hubs. They have these groups kind of come together as one and talk about best practices and so on. So they met with her last week just to see how they could be. They wanted to introduce themselves to her formally because they've never had this kind of meeting, and they wanted to have a conversation with her about how they could work together. And she just from the top of the meeting told them that she didn't trust them, she didn't want to work with them, that they were being hypocritical because they were advocating, some of them were advocating for closing schools while they were also opening these learning hubs. which she didn't even understand the whole concept. I mean, these buildings were safe. These were small cohorts of kids in safer environments than the school was ever going to be able to provide. And she had that kind of conversation with them, and then accused them of wanting to get the COVID money that was coming. I mean, it was just, these are her community partners. These are people who stepped up to the plate, didn't ask for a dime from the school system, and provided these resources, and she just attacked them from the beginning. And that, for me, is the most frustrating thing I heard in the last couple of weeks.
Said that she wasn't willing to work with them.
It ended the meeting by saying that she wasn't willing to work with them. And these were Yale people. These were the group that you guys just talked about a few minutes ago, the large psychological organization. I can never remember. Clifford Beers. This is Clifford Beers. Yeah. And these were pastors of churches. These were all kinds of different Concat was there. They were all there to talk about how can we work together. And she was like, I don't plan on working with you.
Yeah.
Like they want to put her out of business or something. They were providing a service that the parents needed, and that quite frankly, she needed, because clearly these schools weren't safe enough to open. And still some of them are not. As that article showed the other day.
Look how many from the time school has opened until now, look how many schools have gone on in quarantine.
And look at Edgewood. I heard that there was a child at Edgewood that just came up positive.
Yeah.
They're coming up positive in all the schools. And that's why they wouldn't update that portal for a while.
This is where we need parents. The moment that they're getting this information, they need to post it, because they don't want us to see that. They don't want us to shine a light on that. And
I got to tell you, the clergy have stepped to the plate. I mean, they've been supportive of people who are fighting the system, like me and Ife. They've been supportive of us, right. and they've also been supportive of education by providing these learning hubs, at their churches at their cost, where they didn't have to. They could have sat on the sidelines like a lot of other people did. So I salute
I agree.
The Reverend Cousins and the Reverend Kimbers and those folks that have done that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, they have. I mean, in one of the churches, you get grits, you get bacon.
I see them walking away with plates. They walk away with to-go boxes.
I need to get over there. Listen, that's the learning hub.
I was trying to catch breakfast one day.
Well, I just want to say that, if you want to schedule, times where you could talk to the community through this platform, I am so okay with that. We could do that.
I would love to be able to do that.
The community cannot ever speak to this is what I keep trying to tell everybody. When, if you run for office, you cannot have a thin skin. People have a right to criticize you. If I trusted you enough to put your circle on the bubble next to your name, then I should be able to call you and ask you why you did something. You shouldn't get all, I'm feeling some type of way because a consumer, because that's really what we are. The public is not free. This isn't free.
Right. I'm not scared of the public. Some people will beat me up. Ife's done a good job on me. One time she beat me up at the movie theater.
I did not.
Can you view her?
Please? No, and I love that, because I'm a type of person. Listen, I do not. Darnell,
we had a misunderstanding. My skin was a little thin that day, so it was my birthday. I was there with my family. That's what you eat.
I was like, word, we doing this? Okay.
Where's that mute button at?
I brought it right back to him. Like, yo, dude, I don't like, I'm like,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I can't wait. So what we'll do is I'll talk to you offline, and then we'll schedule a date, and then we'll advertise it to everybody, give everybody a link so they could call in and ask you questions or talk, or, even like, I don't know if you see on the side here, this comment section, these are the comments, all the pages that we're streaming live to, everyone's able to, submit comments. So we can even answer comments like that and just do a whole hour and a half. We could do it regularly. Just don't do it one time. We could do it once a month.
And you have other board members who would love to participate in that. Dr. Jackson would love. She wants more public input. Larry Conaway absolutely would participate. I even think Matt Wilcox would participate. He's probably the most reasonable out of that group.
I can't wait. I am so excited.
But here's the thing, and this is moving forward. We as a community has to now come together and say, okay, what do we want? What is it that we truly?
What does our school system should it look like?
Yes, and what are we willing to do together? And
get it.
Different talents. If some people are willing to make the phone calls, then make the phone calls. If some people are willing to write the letters, write the letters. But we have to now start coming together, and we have to start strategizing on how we move forward and how do we get the change that we need in our system.
Yes.
We can't do it. We have to do it. It's important. Our children's future depends on us start doing something. I remember one forum that they did in Washington, D.C., where they had so many people that was coming together, different educators. And this young man, he was 14 years old. He got up and he went forward, and they asked him, to state, to ask his question. And he said, I would like to know. He said, I'm always hearing that it takes a village. He said, but what does a village look like? My generation don't know what a village look like. And that's what we need to do. We talk about it because our ancestors used to tell us it takes a village to raise a child. But we have to begin to show them what that looked like, or enough for that to be repeated, or enough for that legacy to carry on, that we are a village and that it takes the village to raise a child. We have to start showing them what a village look like. We have to put away our differences and work for the common good, and that's our children. We have to stay focused. What is the common denominator in all of this? Our children having a future, our children having a better education system, our children not being locked up.
Right. And I want to jump in on that.
Yeah.
Elections matter. If we don't know, if we haven't seen it, if it hasn't become any more clearer in the last 4 years and since this pandemic began, that elections matter. It is not just somebody that, we just roll in and we get our little sticker and say we voted today. We found out during this process where the rubber meets the road that, politics and bureaucracy will stick your kid, our own prized possession, the thing that we love and hold dearest to us, out to dry. They'll hang our own kids out to dry for politics and money. And this is what I try to get people fired up. I'm like, people come, I'm not a political person. I said, do you pay taxes? Do you send your kid to public school? You ride around on the public streets? Then you're a political person because you're financing all of that.
Sure are.
We cannot continue to have our children be on these reports that are public reports every year, failing in science, failing in math and language hours. Because look at here. If you go and you look at that report, go look at Stanford. Go look at Stanford's report. Look at Westport's report. Every town has a report, and they're paying less money and they're getting better academic response from those children.
You know why? They won't have it no other way.
They won't have it any other way.
Let something happen, and those people come together, and they will shut the town down.
They will have people fired.
And all we can do is talk about it. We need to be about it now.
Well, let's start by talking about it. Let's use your platform as a kind of every month people come to us and they ask us questions and we don't answer them. We're not allowed to answer them. So why don't we, even though we always said that we would provide an answer for them the next month, we never do it. Why don't we use your platform every month? We come here and we answer those questions without the filters. And I'm down for it. I'm sure some of the other board members would be down for it.
Yes, you just email me
representatives would be down for it. But we got to make sure we got to be strict on this. We got to make sure that these meetings don't last as long as the Board of Ed meetings.
No, no, we have to cut it. We got to make sure. No, absolutely not. I totally agree. But okay, so thank you so much, you guys. This was totally good. You guys are going to email me some dates and I will advertise it. I'll do a flyer. We will send the flyer around so everybody will be on
Darnell,
guard and ready.
talk about our upcoming sessions.
Ife is part of, you're talking about the fascination thing?
That's the first
Ife is sponsoring. She's not sponsoring. She's hosting for the governor's office and a couple of other nonprofit partners workshops to provide information on corona and the vaccination, so that people have questions. They can talk to a medical professional, either Black or Latino. That's her workshops are focusing on that community. So you could go to her website and see what dates those workshops are happening, what times, how to sign in, and we're probably going to expand that list also, Ife. So we'll have that conversation with you if we need to add more dates. We certainly could do that. So
If you
I
could
would
send me
encourage
that
people.
link to that website, because Hamden Action Now has a website, and I can actually put those links
So
there.
the board did so Danny did send that out, even though that was not the message.
That little message that he said, where he said go to your website.
Yeah, which is not is
Yeah. It doesn't get near it describing what this is. And it's free to people, and they should check it out. And it takes an hour. The workshop's not more than an hour.
Right.
And if they can't get their answers, if they're, some people don't like public speaking. So if they're uncomfortable, they can always post questions and get those questions answered. So,
Yes.
and I'm glad that Ife is sponsoring it. The board, the New England public school system has not been helpful at all. They sent out a parent link with like 2 sentences that said she's doing this. Go to her website to check it out. Didn't adequately describe it. Didn't send a flyer or any other information to folks' emails or texts. It's kind of embarrassing, especially since the governor is paying for it. And to not work with the parent representative to get that done is again a problem that hopefully we can work on and get solved. But we'll see.
Well, you need some troops. Y'all need some foot soldiers and some troops to come out and help you.
Listen, whoever's down, like I would love to build that, because Darnell will tell you, one of the things that I'm not in a business of just kicking people's butt, right? I really like to do that. No, seriously. I want to be able to work together and be like, okay, how can my group help you with the that's what I'm about. Like I said, we've sponsored trips to the college fair that was in Hartford, which is just all a representative from all over the United States will send someone out there. We used to do that. That comes like in March. Financial aid, whatever I used to hear the most of parents would ask the parents, what is it that you need to know? What is it that, we can help you with? We have a beautiful person on our team, Nicole Jackson, who's phenomenal about with finance, helping people, learn to save money, build credit. There's so many people out here that have something to offer, as an organization. And we try to make that connection with parents to those individuals, because it's about empowering people. It's about, helping them, lift themselves up. It's about teamwork. There's just so much stuff that I'm connected to so many people, to bring. And it's just sad that when I reach out to the district and say, hey, I'm here, someone told me, sometimes people can't hear the message because they got a problem with the messenger.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
You got to get over that.
I've been hearing that a lot.
You got to get over that. Like it's not about, judge me, charge me from what it is that I'm doing. And I was told by my mentor that when you keep kids first, you will always win.
Yep.
Yes.
Always, it's about kids with me. When I fight, if you ever stop to listen to why I'm fighting, it's about the kids. It's about the family. I am for my families. I am for my
Yep.
I don't care about any other things, all that other back stuff. I don't care about that. Do what y'all gonna do. Leave me out of it, but make sure you don't cheat my kids. Do not cheat my kids. Do not cheat my families. I'm about families, and
Well,
when someone do them wrong.
Well, thank you so much, y'all. I'm so excited. This is going to be a nice, continuous conversation. It could go through the summer. People still have kids in the middle of summer. We could talk about issues in the coming up school year. And I am so happy that the vaccination and the vaccines are coming, because the teachers should have been at the front of the line to begin with. You want to run and tell these teachers to go back and get back to school? You should have put them front.
And try to shame them for being concerned about their health.
Right.
And
going home and bringing home to their family and their families. And so we will continue to advocate for students and the teachers. My mother is a teacher. All my aunts were teachers. All we knew how to do was be a teacher. And they were mad when I didn't become one. So I'm going to just tell you right now, we will continue this conversation. I'm so excited that y'all were able to come out tonight and we were able to talk about these things, because it's very important for our community. So Mr. Goldson, you're going to send me an email and tell me about these dates. We're going to have our community conversations with the New Haven Board of Ed.
Yeah, I think I would prefer either having it right before a board meeting or right after a board meeting. That way people could be on the record of having, some comments and questions around issues that are coming up on the agenda or just came up on the agenda. So, that's either like a Sunday night or a Tuesday night. Depending on you, I'm pretty much, I could always make myself available around that time, I think.
We have an event.
I have to have my glass. See, Monday night after the meeting, I'm having my scotch, so I'm not real good with.
Maybe Tuesday night. Thank you so much. You all are awesome. And, we're on this channel at 8:00. We're going to have our tribute to Black History Month.
Oh, good.
Bishop John Selders is going to be on. He's going to do a wonderful presentation to talk about Black history, about people that people don't know about tonight. So cool. As soon as I hang up with you guys, I'm going to be picking up with Bishop Selders at 8:00. So I hope everybody can stay on and go get your cocktail if you need to get.
Right over there. I'm heading over to it right now.
Get your cocktail if you want. We're going to continue this conversation with the Hamden, New Haven, and the Connecticut community all the way into 9:00 tonight. So thank you guys so much. It's so awesome to work.
Thank you for your service. Appreciate
this. Thank you so much.
And
we'll be on again soon next month.
All right.
Take care.
Take it easy.